Ever since all times, Sudanese women have played effective and productive roles in community alongside men. Some Sudanese women were even recognized as fierce warriors on certain occasions and attaining events in Sudan's history. During ancient civilization of Nubia, Sudanese women assumed high ranks up to governor position. In fact, Sudanese women have been and are still regarded highly as symbols for national dignity and patriotism. Khalil Farah's song Azza stands as an ever vivid evidence of Sudanese people's high regard and respect for Sudanese women. It's very rare to find worldwide any nation that has a lady's name as embodiment symbol for all its values and high morals. In this same sense, Meher bint Aboud has become a national token for bravery and chivalry. And Sudanese brave and daring men are typically labeled as brothers of Meher. This in itself bears great and sufficient evidence of Sudanese women's imprint on the history of Sudan before independence and after independence throughout various periods of national governments. With the advent of modern education at the hands of Sudanese pioneers, such as Babikir Bedri, Sudanese women have demonstrated great competence and excellent learning skills that overmatched their counterparts in some neighboring Islamic and Arab countries. Accordingly, in addition to their traditional roles as small-scale industry and farm producers, Sudanese women assumed new roles as teachers, businesswomen, engineers, members of parliament, judges, and ministers. On certain occasions, a Sudanese woman was even nominated as candidate for presidency. Sudanese women have always been at the forefront of community development and enlightenment process. Sudanese women's role in Sudan's independence movement was sufficient evidence of their valued contributions. Women have played a great motivating role in the early popular movement towards independence from behind the scenes, as prevalent traditional value systems at the time did not allow open exposure and active participation of women in societies working towards Sudan's independence, such as the Society of the Sudan Union and the White Flag League. Their participation in public life increased gradually since the late 1940s, when the Young Women's Cultural Society of Omdurman was established in 1947 by some female teachers and cultured women pioneers. It was the first women's organization of its kind that fell into steps with the Graduates General Congress. Then, other women's associations followed, where in 1949 the Female Teachers Union was established to change later into the Female Teachers Association in 1951. Joint coordination between male and female teachers union in the 1960s constituent turning point in women's fierce struggle for democracy, freedom, social justice, and equal rights. But 1952, with independence movement gathering more momentum, the Sudanese Female Teachers Union and other trade unions played a vital role in supporting the political parties' endeavors. Sudanese women efforts finally culminated in the establishing of the Sudanese Women's Union in 1952 as an inclusive body for women's political, social, and cultural activities. The Sudanese Women's Union played a key role in the independence movement. Sudanese women have always been at the forefront of community development and enlightenment process. Sudanese women's role in Sudan's independence movement was sufficient evidence of their valued contributions. Women have played a great motivating role in the early popular movement towards independence from behind the scenes, as prevalent traditional value systems at the time did not allow open exposure and active participation of women in associations and societies working towards Sudan's independence, such as the Society of the Sudan Union and the White Flag League. Their participation in public life increased gradually since the late 1940s, when the Young Women's Cultural Society of Omdurman was established in 1947. By some female teachers and cultured women pioneers, it was the first women's organization of its kind that fell into steps with the Graduates General Congress. Then other women's associations followed, where the 1944 the Female Teachers Union was established to change later in the Female Teachers Association in 1951. Joint coordination between male and female teachers union in the 1960s constituents a turning point in women's fierce struggle for democracy, freedom, social justice, and equal rights. But in 1952, with the independence movement gathering more momentum, the Sudanese Female Teachers Union and other trade unions played vital role in supporting the political parties' endeavors. Sudanese women efforts finally culminated in the establishing of the Sudanese Women's Union in the 1952 as an inclusive body for women's political, social, and cultural activities. The Sudanese Women's Union played a key role in the independence movement. In 1952, Sudanese women availed partial political right as graduates of secondary schools and above were granted right to vote for constituent assembly candidates in the pre-independence transitional period. But in 1964, women were granted full voting and nomination right after their active and effectual participation in the toppling of the first military regime in October 1964. As a result, the first Sudanese woman was elected for a parliament seat as independent candidate for graduates.
The poem, "We are the soldier of Allah, the soldier of the homeland," was chosen among other poems that participate in a general competition for poetic work, praising the Sudan defense for the nucleus of the Sudanese army. When it was established in 1955, when Sudan gained its independence in 1956, the first four verses of the poem were chosen to be a national anthem.
نحن جند الله نخون، نتحدى الموت عند المحن، نشتري المجد بأغلى ثمن. هذه الأرض لنا فليعش سوداننا علما بين الأمم. يا بني السودان هذا رمزكم، يحمل العبء ويحمي أرضكم.
Called the Republican anthem, especially when played musically, and is also called for short the flag anthem of flag salute. The impact of the patriotic song goes beyond entertainment to become a psychological and emotional stimulant that strengthens our identity and belonging regrets of our age experience. On the culture background, it nurtures the collective spirit and connects us exists greater than ourselves. No matter how different or developed the meaning, lyrics, and melodies of the epic and the patriotic song, in one spirit around love for the homeland. The epic song has a major role in strengthening the sense of patriotism, Sudanese, directing the feeling of the Sudanese citizen and the consolidate the connects of homeland. The patriotic song has also evolved since it was merely a special concept related to the tribe and the defense of honor. In addition, it is considered as a link between different periods of time. In addition to the importance of patriotic and the epic singing in the national education of young people. Independence is dignity of Sudanese people. Many important songs were written for it. The song about Sudan and the heartbeat of the Sudanese. The national song is influential through its sincere and true words coming from heart, word loaded with passion, pride, and the homeland. Many songs that engrave in the memory and the influence ever Sudanese, such as I Am Sudanese, such as I Am Sudanese, I Am lyrics. The poet محمد عثمان عبد الرحيم and the performance of the artist حسن خليفة العطبراوي.
السوداني أنا السوداني أنا. كل أجزائه لنا وطن إذ نباهي به ونفتتن.
The anthem of independence was the icon present by Dr. Abdulwahid Abdullah and became the most famous national song, which is broadcast at the beginning of each year and was also become one of national vacation of the Sudanese people. In the middle of the last century, Sudanese music was amongst the most diverse and influential musical colors in the world. After Sudan independed in 1955, old traditionals merged with new political aspirations, allowing the country to live in a golden age. The artist محمد Wardi represented complete reflection of the Sudanese situation in all fluctuation from independence in 1956 until after that December 2018 declaration. Wardi remained a dignitary case for Sudanese society in all its spectrums and one of the flags of Sudanese music in its various schools.
اليوم نرفع راية استقلالنا، اليوم نرفع راية استقلالنا، ويصبر التاريخ موت
حواء جاه الرسول, known as Hawa al-Taqtaga, is a popular independent singer in the national anthem to resist British colonialism, spiritual mother, but her national rule remained clean in singing for, the struggle and the punishment of the national movement, as she was the first to sing for independence.
السودان احنا هيلو علينا منحمل ونشرب من سلسبيله وندفع عليه النهيلو. السودان يا بلادنا نحمل فيك وتنابنا.
Sayyid Khalifa, one of his most famous works, My Homeland, which is one of the most popular national songs in Sudan, and it is one of the musical pieces he composed during independence of Sudan.
كانت أيام يا وطن زي الأحلام يا وطن. كانت أيام يا وطني.
The Sudanese national song in its appearance was closely related to the beginning of the national struggle war by the Sudanese people against British colonialism, especially. The Sudanese national song sees love of home, and these lyrics shake the entity of people eager to build their homeland towards progress and freedom. Multiple songs that sing love of the homeland in inventory. They reflect the concept of the great homeland and are not limited to the idea of party. They are not political, but reflect the state of the society as a whole, and they are not related to talking about a specific personality or system. So their rule was greater, and its influence is stronger, and its contribution to instilling the love of the homeland in future generation is greater. And this is what immunology wrote to her as she remained steadfast, her sincere expression of the homeland.
The Graduates Conference was formed in 1938 as a social and cultural interface for graduates of high schools in Sudan, but it soon called for the decolonize in Sudan and granting to the Sudanese right self-determination. Efforts continued until the Sudanese parliament met on December 19, 1955, declared Sudan's independence and demanded that the condominium rule recognize Sudan as independent state. It's one of the immortal days of Sudan, and history preserves its memory and repeats it every year because of its instance on achieving the independence that were according to the plan of the first generation, which were one of the epics of people and the first patriots. In this immortal day, December 19, the Sudanese people was united behind one word, the independence, and everyone, according a prior agreement, was the leader in declaring it. On this day, the name of the first patriot shown. They were Abdul Rahman Dabka, Mashawar Jum'a Sahal, Mirghani Hussein Zakiruddin, Hamad Abu Sidir and others. History and documents. On Monday, December 1955, the Council of Representatives met to announce on behalf of the Sudanese people that they had become an independent, fully sovereign state, and the condominium rule must recognize this declaration immediately. The colonialism which we suffered for 57 years and the era of complete freedom and sovereignty was make Sudan a nation with all its components that is inspired in its internal and external affairs only by the interest of the people. We have made every effort to achieve complete independence and state sovereignty, and we have never accepted amidst solutions, nor have we been lenient in its rights or been a little negligent to lose Sudan. Declaration of independence from inside of Parliament was not an easy matter. This proceeded by many sincere struggles to obtain glorious independence. There were many revolutions that achieved this immortal day, including armed revolutions against foreign colonialism, the first one, revolutions of Abdulgadir Wathaboba in 1908. And there are many events, all of which called for the independence of Sudan and the evacuation of the colonizer until the stage of the seating of the three parties, Britain and Egypt and Sudan as colonial state. The 1952 agreement granted Sudan the right to self-determination all the way to the glorious moment that was in the year 1953, which was the declaration of Sudan's independence from inside of parliament. The evacuation took place and the Sudanese flag was raised in 1956 despite the fact that Sudanese independence disturbed many societies that wanted Sudan without independence, economic, political, and societal reform. But the people of Sudan defended this country with their weapons and ideas until Sudan reached a great stage.
The political parties and the national movement have played a great and major role in the country's independence after their leadership was carried out by the leaders of religious sects, which was the characteristic that distinguished the two major parties that existed at that time. Their role also went beyond political conflict to state resembling political union. The national atmosphere filled all the arena of the country, and these parties found political recovery and national unity that enabled them to perform their role successfully until the movement of achieving independence in the manner resembling political alliances. The most important political parties and movement that emerged during the period, the Sudanese Union Party, is founded in 1921 and it's considered one of the achieving self-rule for Sudan. The White Flag Association, its Founded in 1924, the association was formed by a group of Sudanese led by Ali Abdul Latif and Abdul Fadil Almaz. The Graduates Club, it was established by Sudanese graduates from school and higher institutes. The club was cultural and social gathering, but soon turned into a platform for political activity. It sought to promote national awareness and resistance to colonialism through cultural, social, and political activities. It was established in the 1940s. It came as a reaction to the dominance of sectarian and religious parties on the political scene. The party sought to establish a secular republican system of government in Sudan away from religious, although it did not achieve great successes. It contributed to spreading republican and secular thought in Sudan. The Brothers Party was led by Ismail al-Azhari. At first, the party called for unity as a step toward achieving independence, but later adopted the position of full independence for Sudan. The National Unionist Party led the government that declared Sudan's independence in 1956 under the leadership of Ismail al-Azhari. The Muslim Brotherhood movement emerged in Sudan in 1940. The movement focused on Islamic advocacy and emphasizing the application of Islamic law in Sudan. It was played an important role in shaping the Islamic and political identity in Sudan and contributed to the establishment of Islamic parties later before independence. Political parties in Sudan were characterized by the diversity of their ideologies and goals as they expressed different ambitions and aspirations of Sudanese society.